Okay, so in this series we're going to, out of request from a few people who've tried to ask me to explain a few chromatic modulations that I've done, we're going to just start a basic chromatic modulation course. Now, the thing is, you have to really start small in this department. You can't immediately jump to Wagner's style, okay, or somebody like that. And I would say, even if you want to get into film composing, learn these moves, because I use them all the time in some of the film style mock-ups. And it'll greatly expand your harmonic vocabulary enormously, okay? So, but I'm going to say the essential thing is you must learn chromatic harmony in key. What's the difference between that and chromatic modulation? Well, I actually have a course on this at Behind the Score, and I'll leave a link to that because I'm not going to step on their toes and have a chromatic harmony in key course here, okay? It's just out of respect. So, but the general consensus of my opinion is you should not even bother with chromatic modulation if you don't understand chromatic harmony in key, like this. Because if you don't understand how these kind of tonicizing chords are working, and there's plenty of different types of tonicizing chords and resolutions, if you don't understand those things, then you're going to be completely lost with chromatic modulation. Okay, those are all tonicizing kind of chords. So, and it doesn't matter what style you're into, because there's a lot of styles that also use basic chromatic harmony in key, but this is about basic chromatic modulation, okay? So if you don't understand in key chromatic harmony, then don't bother with this. And I'm just being bluntly honest. And we're going to go ahead and start. And I'm not going to use the secondary dominant as your first chromatic modulation pivot, because it's really easy to just jump to a dominant chord and treat it as a 5 chord. So let's just start with something you can use, okay? We're going to use G minor, harmonic that is, because of the fully diminished 7 chord, and then B flat minor, because the fully diminished 7th chord. Well, you notice they're the same set of notes, and harmonically they're the same chord, same set of notes, spelled differently. Okay, this is the enharmonic process. So we could do this: 2 flats to 5 flats instantly. We didn't use common chord pivot modulation from G minor until we got to B flat minor. So let's just take that example we just did. This is very simple. You could have your first modulation exactly like this. The B flat minor enharmonic fully diminished 7th is the same exact chord makeup as it is in G. So G minor, I'm sorry, harmonic minor in both cases, okay? So it's literally the same makeup of chords, except you'd spell it differently. However, you're using it enharmonically. So here's our sequence. Okay. B minor, 5, 1. So you instantly go from the G minor to B flat minor, okay? Instantly. It's using chromatic movement, okay? You see how the G is going to F sharp, then down to F, okay? So just something as this simple move can actually get you started on chromatic modulation and start working your way towards that Wagner-esque kind of harmony and the late romantic harmony in general, okay? Where it's highly chromatic music. So we could take the same exact sequence and do something like this. Same exact sequence as before, voiced a little differently. So if musically you could do something like this, stay in G minor for a second. B flat minor. So it literally, you can jump from very remote keys very quickly. So let's just move on to another example. Let's use C minor in G minor and then convert it to that F sharp diminished 7th, and then use it as the pivot again, okay? You could do just finding various ways to use that as the pivot from one key to the other. So, so I wanted to, after I hit the B flat minor chord, I wanted to make it sound like it was in B flat minor for sure, so I just did a few extra moves. So one more example. You could literally walk up that fully diminished 7th chord from G minor to B flat minor. Okay, instead of jumping, that has that more of that chromatic median effect. So you could do a sequence like that, okay? And you notice there's not much breakdown. It sounds like it actually kind of flows. And then just using that enharmonic chord, you might leave that alone. And I wrote all the chords out for you. So your job here is to actually probably just practice various ways you can move in between that fully diminished seventh chord and those two minor chords. Okay, I would start practicing that first. You do something like this. You actually get a little bit interesting kind of chromatic movement. So all that counts. Okay, so here's where I would personally start, is with the enharmonic process. Because you're never going to form highly chromatic chains and modulations that extend to the length of like Wagner has done until you start learning these tiny moves to go in between keys that are not directly related, okay? So that's why you start learning simple moves like this. And we're going to keep using this fully diminished seventh chord for quite a bit. Because first of all, this same set of notes in the fully diminished seventh chord occurs in quite a few different keys besides just G and B flat minor. Okay, so but we just want to concentrate on one move at a time, and it also occurs as a borrowed chord within major. So we're going to take all that into account, and all these little tiny moves start stacking on top of each other, and then eventually we'll start doing chains with this chord. But again, if you don't know functional harmony and basic chromatic harmony within key, you should literally just kind of skip this course, because it's going to be it's just going to leave you very confused, especially the more moves we start adding. And if you don't know how to use those moves within key, then you're not going to know how to use them outside of key.